Good evening and welcome to the Paxmundi show on Darkcity Radio. Every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. GMT, the Paxmundi show with war, peace and resistance news. Call in live or chat, Skype on Bob's Backyard or telephone 0161 298 0298. If you're outside of the UK, that's plus 44 161 298 0298. So starting with the news, the news this week has continued to be dominated by the Edward Snowden story and his search for asylum. Initially, it applied for asylum to Ecuador. Ecuador has come under a lot of pressure from the United States. First of all, the US threatened to remove trade agreements, trading rights from Ecuador. These are preferential trading agreements, which regarding tariffs and import duties and things like this. So that was what the US was using as a bargaining counter. Now, on Friday, Ecuador actually resisted that call. The Ecuadorian government said it would be happy to give up preferential trade rights, that they would not be threatened in this manner. The US Trade Representative Michael Froman had said that the Obama administration would evaluate Ecuador's eligibility for trade benefits and review a petition calling for their revocation. So the Ecuadorian president, Rafael Correa, responded that his country's dignity has no price. Over the weekend, the US escalated their threats or promises, whatever they used against Ecuador to try to get them to refuse asylum to Snowden. And Vice President Joe Biden actually personally called President Rafael Correa over the weekend. Now, we don't know what he said, but it clearly made a difference. Following his call, the Ecuadorian government has said that they will not now consider an application for asylum from Edward Snowden until he is in an Ecuadorian embassy or, in Ecuador. Now, clearly, he's not in a position to do that at present. So presently, that is a no-no. We'll have more about Snowden's situation later, but this does give you some idea of the kind of pressure that the US is using against countries where Snowden has applied for asylum. In the US, the Boston bombing suspect, Dzhokhar Tsanev, has now been charged. He's been charged with 30 counts, 30 charges, including the murders of 4 people. The US Attorney Carmen Ortiz stated the indictment alleges that Dzhokhar Tsanev is responsible for the deaths of Christy Marie Campbell, Lindsay Liu, Martin Richard and Officer Sean Collier, and also for maiming, burning and wounding scores of others. The charges reflect the serious and violent nature of the events that occurred on April 15th and the tragic series of events that followed. The defendants' alleged conduct forever changed lives. The victims, their families and this community have shown extraordinary strength and resilience in the face of this senseless violence. And it is with hundreds of injured as well as the victims in this case in mind that we proceed to seek and make sure that justice is served. So Dzhokhar Tsarnaev could face the death penalty if he is convicted. The indictment includes the details on what he allegedly scribbled inside the boat in which he was hiding when he was captured in a Boston backyard, referring to the attacks on Muslims by the US overseas. Tsarnaev is alleged to have written, the US government is killing our innocent civilians. Stop killing our innocent people and we will stop. The Foreign Secretary, US Foreign Secretary John Kerry, is currently visiting Israel, and just to kind of celebrate his visit and show that they're not stopping with their expansionism in the West Bank, Israel announced new settlement construction. That would be Tuesday. They announced the construction of dozens of new homes in East Jerusalem, and this would be. They've actually approved the construction of more than 1,600 new settlement dwellings. In Egypt, the situation has continued to escalate over the past week. We've seen millions demonstrating in Egypt. The military then intervening to declare a deadline to President Morsi to respond to the people's demands. And following the end of that deadline, yesterday we saw the overthrow, really, of the Morsi government, his current imprisonment, along with other members of the government in Egypt by the military, and the appointment of an interim government. So perhaps more to say about that later. On the NSA leaks, which have been released by Edward Snowden, particularly the allegations and revelations that the US was spying on their European Union allies, on the European embassies, this has caused a lot of concern in some countries, not here in the UK, but certainly in other European states, particularly Germany. And I think this is probably due to the German people's history of having, a state surveillance during the Nazi regime, and also later during the East German state surveillance of the Stasi. So Germans are particularly conscious of the intrusion and the threat to the individual that state surveillance issues. Now, in response to these revelations, Martin Schulz, President of the European Parliament, called on the US to explain the latest spying claims. He stated, I feel treated as a European and representative of a European institution, like the representative of an enemy. Is this the basis for a constructive relationship on the basis of mutual trust? I think no, and therefore my request to the Embassy of the United States here in Brussels is it true? And in case it is true, why? They should justify. It is shocking that the United States takes measures against their most important and nearest allies, comparable to measures taken in the past by the KGB, by the Secret Service of the Soviet Union. So in going back to the Snowden case, Rafael Correa, the Ecuadorian president, has stated that the fate of Edward Snowden is in Russian hands. Now, Russia has actually offered Snowden asylum, but that has been conditional. So the condition is that Snowden ceases to release intelligence and revelations that are harmful to the US. So these are the conditions, and unfortunately Snowden felt that he had to reject these conditions. He's not prepared to give up the right to continue to release the intelligence that he has, and therefore he remains in the transit area in Moscow airport, stateless and unable to move from there. So that is clearly, it's a changing situation, and there are developments every day. Now, going back to Secretary of State John Kerry's visit to Israel and the occupied West Bank, negotiations have currently stalled. This is over Israel's refusal to halt the settlement construction. But, however, for some reason, following the meetings with Israel, Kerry claimed he had made progress in bridging the gaps between the two sides. He said, "I'm pleased to tell you that we've made real progress on this trip. And I believe that with a little more work, the start of the final status negotiations could be within reach. We started out with very wide gaps, and we've narrowed these considerably." Clearly, while Israel is announcing the construction of lots more settlement building, really Kerry is fantasizing, or maybe he's just trying to be positive. In Afghanistan, while the negotiations between the Taliban, the US and the Karzai government are now back on track following the Taliban's agreement to stop using the title of the Emirate of Afghanistan, Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, in their office in Doha. So those negotiations are back on, but meanwhile the conflict continues apace, and the Taliban has been escalating their attacks as the talks get underway. So In Kabul. That would be on Monday. There were at least 11 people killed in a suicide bomb and gun attack on a company supplying the NATO mission in Afghanistan. The Kabul police chief said the dead included 4 Nepali guards, an Afghan guard and 2 Afghan civilians, as well as 4 insurgents. Back in the US, in response to questions about the NSA spying, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, has admitted that he made incorrect statements about sweeping NSA spying. At a previous congressional hearing in March, Clapper was asked whether the NSA collected data on millions of Americans. He replied, no. When pressed, he added, not wittingly. That means not knowingly, I think. But according to the Washington Post, Clapper sent a letter to the Senate Intelligence Committee last month saying he had misunderstood the question, and I thought long and hard to recreate what went through my mind, and I've since realised that it was not true. In Africa, in Senegal, the former US-backed dictator from Chad, that is Hassine Habre, he was dictator in Chad from 1982 to 1990 before he fled to Senegal. Now he's been accused of being ordering the torture and slaughter of tens of thousands of people from different ethnic groups. That includes the Tuareg ethnic group who were fighting a war against his government for rights and autonomy for the Tuareg people. Now, the government of Senegal is using their right within Senegalese law to hear cases from outside of the country, and therefore the case is going to be heard in Senegal, and this will be the first time that an African leader has faced trial for human rights violations in another African country. All previous cases of human rights violations have been heard by the International Criminal Court. This is based in Brussels, in Europe, and there is some resentment about the fact that all of the cases of the ICC, which are held in Europe, they all involve African war criminals. Now, it isn't because there aren't war criminals in Europe. We've got plenty of them. You know, we've got our former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, for one. He should be top of the list. We've got plenty of war criminals in the United States. But the ICC chooses to continue to focus on African war criminals, these warlords or former presidents who are now out of power, who are, convenient targets. And this actually was the subject of a resolution by the government of Ethiopia at the recent African Union Congress, that they, really object to the targeting of African war criminals by the International Criminal Court. So clearly this is a good precedent that this former dictator is being charged in Africa. In Pakistan this week, US drone strikes have continued. An attack in North Waziristan was the deadliest one this year, and that killed 17 people. The attack was against the Haqqani militant group, and this is the second drone attack since the new Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif took office last month. Sharif has called for an end to drone strikes, but clearly, the US does not recognize the sovereignty of any other country in the world, and they do feel that they've got the right to take their war and make their war wherever they want to. Now, it is ironic that the Haqqani network is a former beneficiary of US aid. They were actually created by the CIA, funded by the CIA, and armed by the United States in the 1980s to fight their proxy war in Afghanistan. Now, on Tuesday, there were developments around the Snowden case. I will talk more about. Just briefly, the president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, had been on a state visit to Russia, and this was actually a meeting of gas producers. Bolivia is a major producer of gas, and he was on his way back from Russia to Bolivia when his plane went through Austrian airspace. They were instructed to land at Vienna Airport by the ground control. They landed at Vienna Airport as instructed, and then the plane was grounded. The plane was boarded by Austrian officials who informed the pilots that the plane had been denied access to airspace that was on their flight path. They'd been denied access to the airspace from Portugal, Spain, France, and Italy. All of these countries had stated that they would not allow this particular plane carrying the president of Bolivia on a pre-arranged flight path. They would not allow him to enter their flight airspace. Now, then the Austrians insisted that they also now wanted to search the plane. They were clearly searching the plane because they believed that Edward Snowden may have been smuggled onto the plane. Now, a lot of people may, dismiss the seriousness of this, but you've got to look at it from the perspective of, this country. The way in which they have been treated. A Latin American president head of state has been treated like a common criminal. Now, not only does he have diplomatic immunity in all of these countries, and should have the right to pass through their airspace unhindered, but the indignity of and disrespect that European states have shown to Latin American states has really offended people not only in Bolivia but in Latin America generally. The Bolivian Foreign Minister David Chocahansa stated Portugal needs to explain to us, France needs to explain to us why they cancelled permission. Besides, we are in communication with the authorities. We consider that it could possibly be because of statements from President Morales over the case of Mr. Snowden, who has asked for asylum. We're going to analyse this. They want to intimidate us. It is discrimination towards our president. It has endangered the life of the president. Now, the Bolivians clearly blame the White House for the forced landing in Austria, and behind the actions of these other European states, Italy, France, Spain and Portugal, all acting unanimously to prevent this plane from entering their airspace. They could only be acting at the behest of the United States in their quest to search for Edward Snowden or to harass the countries, the governments to which he has applied for asylum. So the case of Snowden continues to dominate the news. Even John Kerry, attending a summit at Brunei, stated that he'd discussed the US efforts to extradite NSA whistleblower with his Russian counterpart, the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, when they had a quiet moment during the conference. He stated, I did raise the issue of, obviously, Mr. Snowden, but this is not his portfolio, nor is it mine directly, because it is being handled within the Justice Department. So it is fair to say that we didn't discuss any substantive progress, but I certainly raised it. From our point of view, how it fits within the context of our relationship. But again, it's not his portfolio, so it wasn't discussed in a way he would be able to take any action on it. The revelations of a listening device being found in the Ecuadorian embassy has also angered Latin American governments. Once again, diplomatic protocols and diplomatic conventions are being ignored and contravened, and this is clear evidence of surveillance. A microphone was found in the ambassador's office this last month, in June, in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. This is the London embassy where Julian Assange, WikiLeaks director, is currently claiming asylum. And these revelations come days after Snowden had exposed the widespread US spying on European Union offices and foreign embassies. So, it really just, does add, a sting to that story. In Iraq, there have been over 45 people killed this week on Tuesday in bombings across Iraq. This is the deadliest attack, left 8 people dead in northern Baghdad. And so far this year, Iraq has seen the bloodiest violence since 2007. Now, in a study on the drones, these are the CIA and UK and US military drones, which are making attacks in Yemen, Pakistan, Somalia and Afghanistan. A new study has refuted claims by the US government that the drones carry out more precise attacks than conventional aircraft, military aircraft. The Center for Naval Analyses stated that they'd found that remote-controlled drones caused 10 times more civilian casualties than piloted military air attacks over the course of 1 year in Afghanistan. The director of the centre, Larry Lewis, stated that his findings are based on classified military files covering mid-2010 to mid-2011. This was the most intense period for drone strikes in Afghanistan. In the US, this week has seen the closing of the prosecution case against Bradley Manning, the US Army whistleblower Bradley Manning, who leaked lots of material, classified material to WikiLeaks, has now reached a stage where, the evidence will be considered, and his defense team will begin to try and refute the claims that he is aiding the enemy. This is the most serious charge against him. So, just to go further regarding the Bolivian incident, the government of Bolivia is outraged by what the actions of the Austrian government, where the Morales plane was grounded for 14 hours in the Austrian capital, Vienna, after the governments of France, Portugal, Italy and Spain closed their airspace. So they are certainly taking this up with the various offices and treaty organizations within Latin America, and will be taking the case to both the Geneva Convention and to the UN. Now, I'm just going to take a short break, and we're going to just have a short music break with a song from Aidan Jolly. The song is Radio Independence.
listening to lies all my life. Time to turn off that road. Join the side of justice, free from remote control. Radio independence, get the real news. Listen to the free radio, make up your mind and choose. Selling the information, patenting the ideas, controlling communication, persuading us that we're free. Radio independence, get the real news. Listen to the free radio, make up your mind and choose. Listen to the free radio, make up your mind and choose. If you don't want to wear a barcode, you don't want your jeans on file, if you don't want the voice of America, you've got to retune the dial to Radio Independence. Get the real news. Listen to the free radio, make up your mind and choose. Radio Independence. Get the real news. Listen to the free radio, make up your mind and choose. Listen to the free radio, make up your mind and choose. When at last the people are free to be who we want to be, we'll take away all our pain and we'll go dancing in the rain. Rise up!
Okay, welcome back to the Paxmundi show. And sticking with the ongoing issues created by the Snowden leaks through WikiLeaks, the Reporters Without Borders organization has called on the US Congress to create a commission of inquiry into the links between US intelligence agencies and the 9 leading internet sector companies that are alleged to have given them access to their servers. They also asked that the Commission should identify all the countries and organisations that have contributed to the mass digital surveillance machinery that, according to reports in the Washington Post and Guardian newspapers, has been created by the United States government in conjunction with the UK government. Now, according to these reports, the telephone company Verizon handed over details of phone calls of millions of US and foreign citizens every day to the National Security Agency, while the 9 internet major companies, including Microsoft, Yahoo, Facebook, Google, Apple, all gave the FBI and NSA direct access to their servers. under this program identified by Snowden called PRISM. The US intelligence agencies are reportedly able to access all the emails, audio and video files, instant messaging conversations, and connection data transiting through these companies' servers. According to the reports, the UK government headquarters, communication headquarters, GCHQ, which is the British equivalent of the National Security Agency, has also had access to this data collected under PRISM. The proposed congressional commission, the commission that had been proposed by the Reporters Without Borders agency, should evaluate the degree to which the collected data violates privacy and therefore also freedom of expression and information. The Commission's findings should not be classified as defence secrets. These issues, the protection of privacy and freedom of expression, are matters of public interest. In a latest report presented to the UN, the UN Special Reporter Frank LaRue argues that there can be no freedom of expression and opinion without protection of privacy. The Reporters Without Borders adds that the respect for the confidentiality of communications between journalists and their sources is a necessary condition for freedom of information. So clearly there is going to be resistance in the US to the spying that is taking place there, the massive covert surveillance. Here in the UK, not a lot has been said. Still waiting to hear the resistance here in the UK. It's very quiet. So Snowden's situation in Russia is getting certainly more complex and looking more difficult. It appears that, with the US government revoking his passport without any kind of hearing, while he was in transit, they've actually removed his ability to choose where he can claim asylum, and this is along with the pressure that is being brought on other nations to which he is appealing for asylum by the United States. So on Tuesday, the WikiLeaks activist Sarah Harrison, who accompanied Snowden on his journey from Hong Kong to Russia, has hand-delivered 21 letters to the duty officer at the Russian consular office in Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport on behalf of Snowden. The letters were all requests for asylum, which were addressed to the embassy officials of the following countries. So he has now applied for asylum to Austria, Bolivia, Brazil, China, Cuba, Ecuador, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, India, Italy, Ireland, the Netherlands, Nicaragua, Norway, Poland, Russia, Spain, Switzerland, and Venezuela. So the letters stated, although I am convicted of nothing, the US government has unilaterally revoked my passport, leaving me a stateless person. Without any judicial order, the administration now seems to seek to stop me exercising a basic right, a right that belongs to everybody. That is the right to seek asylum. So clearly, the US government is doing everything that it can to prevent Snowden from getting asylum. They are, whatever they're doing, bribing, threatening, all these other countries, undertaking these machinations to try to intimidate sovereign nations to prevent them from considering his asylum application. So it's not unclear what's going to happen. Clearly, the Bolivian government is seriously considering his application, along with Venezuela. Those look like two possibilities. Many of these states, however, like Iceland and like Ecuador, are stating that he must reach their embassy or reach their territory to make that application, which is clearly impossible whilst he is stuck in this limbo situation in the transit area in Moscow airport. So just moving on with news. Disturbing news from the Mozambique, where a feud between two political groups, which had been agreed for over 20 years, has now broken down. So some may remember the civil war that took place in Mozambique between the Frelimo government. So the Frelimo was the independence organization that fought a war of independence against Portugal. They achieved their independence, but then this other group, Renamo, which was supported by the apartheid regime and by the CIA, continued to attack them from 1980 to 1992. There was this ongoing civil war. Following a peace agreement and the Renamo leaders being bought off, there has been peace in that country. Unfortunately, this has now broken down again, and the Renamo has declared war on the Frelimo government, and they've stated that they're going to be attacking travellers within Mozambique. The first attack took place this week. 4 foreigners were killed in an attack near the South African border, and the threat that this poses. This is a Cold War conflict coming back again 20 years later. So this poses a threat to all of the neighbouring countries, another potential civil war. That is clearly a serious threat to the Mozambique people, as well as neighbouring countries, Zambia and Zimbabwe. Now, at Guantanamo, there is the trial currently of the alleged 9/11 plotters, including Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And that is now reaching, to a crucial stage in the case. It's been going on now for 2 years, and hopefully we'll have some more news on that next week. So I'm coming to the end of the show now. Thanks for listening, and please tune in again next week to the Paxmundi show on Darkcity Radio.